All right, guys, how's it going? Just wanted to talk about how stressful going to a hospital appointment is as a wheelchair user. You'd think, wouldn't you, that a hospital would be well equipped to deal with all of this business going on right here, but they're just not. So, I have a disability called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, or AMC for short, which means I am a full time powered wheelchair user, and I also have very limited movement in my hands and arms. And well, recently I've had to deal with a bleeding mole on the back of my lower right leg. It was very dramatic and sort of pissed blood all over the bathroom floor, to be honest. Just thought maybe we'd knocked it at some point, and we put a plaster over it, and well, it's not healing. And so it pissed all over the floor again, put another plaster on it, still not healing. So I did go to the GP, who seemed slightly baffled by what was going on with this mole, and ended up referring me to the dermatology clinic at the hospital, which I went to last week. And this was actually one of the better experiences that I've had at a hospital. But it's always so stressful when, well, there have been times in the past when I've turned up at the hospital. They don't know that I'm even in a wheelchair, don't know that I've even got a disability, to be honest, don't know that I need to use a hoist to transfer out of my wheelchair and onto a bed. Or even if they have got a hoist, they don't really know how to use it half the time. So whenever I get a hospital appointment come through, I always make sure to phone up beforehand to make sure that they know that I'm in a wheelchair, that I'm disabled, that I need this extra equipment. Because otherwise, if I turn up and they haven't got anything ready, that's just a waste of everyone's time, really. And I know I shouldn't have to do that, but I do feel a lot safer. Maybe that's not the right word. I just feel a lot less anxious if I phone up and just let them know in advance. So that's what I did before this appointment that I had in the dermatology clinic last week. I phoned up the department. It said I was going to the plastics department, so that's where I phoned, just to make sure that they had a hoist if I needed to get out of my chair. And I also asked what was going to happen at the appointment. And I spoke to this nurse on the phone, and she told me that I was going to theatre. And then I started to shit myself, basically, because of past traumatic experiences when I was a child and I had a lot of operations. And I don't like to go near that place ever again. The theatre, I mean, specifically. I mean, I should have really thought that, they hadn't even seen it. So they hadn't even seen the mole. So how could they even know that I was going to theatre exactly on that day? Anyway, I got to the appointment and I was not going to theatre on that day. I had an appointment with a consultant of plastic surgery who was going to look at the mole and then decide what was going to happen. He said that I could be going to theatre, but if that was decided, it wouldn't be happening on that exact day. Because I'd told him what I was told on the phone, and he was like, yeah, they say that to everyone. Like, well, really, they shouldn't be doing that. I didn't say anything though. It was already done. So then it was time to look at the mole. And well, if you know anything about arthrogryposis, you'll know that, well, joints are just very stiff. A lot of my joints are actually fused in place, and any wrong movements can cause an injury to said joints. But there was a lovely nurse called Jane, and she had actually heard of my disability, and she told me to tell her exactly how to hold me, how to handle me, and how to move me. And then she said, if we're moving too far, just say stop. I didn't have to do that though, because she was very good. And I'd actually gone to the appointment with my mum and my sister, and I'd gone wearing shorts in preparation so that we didn't have to struggle with taking clothes off for easy access to the mole, really. So my sister, she took the blanket. I was wearing a blanket because I don't usually wear the blanket in public, but it was cold. So she took the blanket off my legs, and the consultant took one look at my legs and said, "You're very moly, aren't you?" I was like, yes, I am. to which he proceeded to check all of the moles on my legs using a little device, which kind of looked like a magnifying glass with a light on it. And he just placed it onto the surface of my skin and then put his eye on the other side of it to closely take a look at them, I guess. And then it was time to look at the one in question, the one that I have now named Bob the Blob, which is quite gross. But yeah, that's its name. So Jane, the nurse, asked me how to lift up my leg. So I explained, and she very carefully lifted it up, but the consultant was not able to see Bob, unfortunately, with his little device. He couldn't get to the right angle to get the device on my skin as well as get his eye on the other side of it without twisting his neck upside down, I guess. So Jane suggested we go into another room and use a hoist to be able to transfer me from the wheelchair onto a bed to get a better angle. And usually as well at hospital appointments, they do have a hoist, but it's weird. It's a weird hoist that uses clip attachments. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, but it's not like the normal hook and loop type sling and hoist that you would use at home. And so my sling that I use at home has loops on it, which on a usual hospital hoist will not attach because they have clips on theirs. But I did actually take my sling just in case, on the off chance that maybe they had a proper hoist, and I'm going to call it a proper hoist because that's what it is. And that's when Jane said to me, "Do you want to use a hoist that'll fit your sling?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, please. Yes, that would be so much better. Thank you." And so she went. She was gone for about 5 minutes and she came back with a proper hoist. But then we were all squeezed into this tiny room. It was so small. And I have to be hoisted from the side of my chair because I can't let my feet hit the bars of the hoist because of the previously mentioned injuries that I might sustain. So the bed was up against the wall. I was turned sideways at the head of the bed in my wheelchair. And then there was Jane and my sister and my mum and then the consultant. And we were all squeezed into this room trying to get my leg up in the air far enough for him to take a look at it. And then, so I'm dangling from the hoist. And then the hoist legs wouldn't go under the bed. And I'm like, oh my God, am I actually going to make it to this bed? And then my wheelchair was in the way. And then someone, I think it was my mum, had to drive the chair. And it was just all very stressful. So then my sister, she was guiding my feet. She was just sort of protecting them from hitting anything while Jane was trying to push the hoist under the bed. And she just had to, in the end, get underneath me while I'm dangling, get underneath the bed to try and move it slightly to get the legs in the space that's underneath. And we did eventually do it. I say we, I was just dangling, I wasn't really doing much. But yeah, we did it in the end. So once I was comfortably placed on the bed, that's when the consultant came back in. And yeah, we had to get my leg up as far as it could go in the air. My sister did that for me. She held it up in the air. And then the consultant got his little device and had a look at it. And the verdict is he doesn't know what it is. He can't tell if it's completely harmless or if it's something quite sinister. So, just to be on the safe side, I actually will be going to theatre, but I have no idea when that will actually be. The consultant said a few weeks, maybe a few weeks for the appointment to come through. So I asked him, because of all of my joints and issues with all of that, how exactly we're going to achieve removing Bob. I didn't call it Bob to him. So I asked him, how exactly does he plan on removing it? And he said, with me on my stomach. I'm like, I can't do that because of all of my joints, like my hips, my knees, my feet. Everything will be injured if I go on my front. It's just not a doable position for me. So he said, okay, what about on your side? And I'm like, well, more doable than the front, I guess. If I have to go in any position, I'd rather be on the side. So I think that's what's going to have to happen. And then it was time to get me off the bed again. And, well, That was easier than getting me on, I guess, but still quite a struggle in that tiny room with all of those people having to help. But yeah, it was actually one of the better experiences that I've had in a hospital. In the past, I've almost been dropped off the side of a bed that was in, like, I was going for an ultrasound, and the people there who were trying to hoist me didn't really know how to use the hoist, and the hoist wouldn't go far enough under the bed, and then they just unclipped the sling and I fell backwards, and my sister was there shouting, "Grab her! Grab her!" And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going, whoa, whoa, because I'm going to fall off the side of the bed. Yeah, so things like that have happened to me in the past. And I just hate hospitals because of all the traumatic experiences that have happened. But yeah, I just wanted to share this experience so that we can, share them. Share them in the comments if you like. Share your experiences. And if anyone has got any suggestions on positions that I can get in, to get on my side. I mean, obviously the staff will move me, but if you've got any suggestions on how that can go without too much pain. So yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions. And also let me know if you'd like any updates on the next appointment. Thanks for watching. And thanks for, listening to me just waffle on about my latest hospital appointment. And I'll see you soon.